8 cheetahs have died at Madhya Pradesh's Kuno National Park in the last 4 months. And now some experts are attributing the two recent deaths to substandard radio collars that were given to these animals. While the government has denied the charges and said that this is speculation and hearsay without any scientific evidence, NDTV has accessed footage that shows authorities examining the collar of a dead cheetah. This video shows forest officials examining the radio collar and a maggot-infested wound on the neck area of Cheetah Suraj, who died last week. Now, all these cheetahs in the Kuno National Park have an African tracking radio collar. This is equipment that has been a sticking point between wildlife experts. Now, just to clarify that this is not equipment that was put on these cheetahs in India, but in fact, this is equipment that has come from Africa. According to a source, after Suraj's death, another cheetah, Pavan, was tranquilized and his radio collar was removed on Monday, potentially saving his life. The government has even transferred the principal chief conservator of the forest wildlife, J.S. Chauhan, while these collars still continue to remain on the other cheetahs for now. Now, in September last year, remember, India brought 20 adult cheetahs from Namibia and South Africa with an aim of reintroducing the animal in the Indian habitat. Now, this clearly has gone wrong somewhere, with 8 of those cheetahs dying in less than 4 months. Has this reintroduction plan therefore failed? Or was it just badly planned? Because there are several unanswered questions at the moment. To look at this story holistically, we have K. Ullas Karan, the conservationist, zoologist, leading tiger expert based in Karnataka. He's the director of the Wildlife Conservation Society India program. And we have Dr. Anish Andheria, the president of the Wildlife Conservation Trust, both joining us on the show to answer some of the questions that we're asking. And thank you both very much for being here. But before I ask you these questions, I want to first take a look at this NDTV exclusive report.
Forest officials examining the radio collar and a maggot-infested wound on the neck of Cheetah Suraj, who died last week. All the cheetahs in Kuno have on wildlife tracking radio collars from Africa, where they were brought from. But the equipment is now being questioned by several experts as it's not suited to Indian conditions.
We faced all these issues. But हम लोगों की observation का जो regime है, that was quite tight. Literally 24/7 का मतलब 24/7 है. वो यदि वो collar synthetic है, immediately they need to be replaced. Initially it may be soft, but with the time उसकी polymerization हो जाता है तो tight हो जाता है. But in case it is a leather, then leather will start soaking the water and then start मतलब उसकी elasticity मतलब बढ़ जाती है.
Okay.
And it exactly doesn't harm that much.
According to a source, after Suraj's death, another cheetah, Pavan, was tranquilized and his radio collar was removed, potentially saving his life, as flies already laid eggs in his wound on his neck. If the cheetah was not treated, the maggot infestation could have resulted in Pavan's death.
The National Tiger Conservation Authority, in its press release dated on the 16th of July, had stated, out of the 20 translocated adult cheetahs, 5 mortalities of adult cheetahs have been reported from Kuno National Park, and as per the preliminary analysis, all mortalities are due to natural causes. There are reports in the media attributing cheetah deaths due to radio collars, etc. Such reports are not based on any scientific evidence, but on speculation and hearsay. But then on the 17th of July, the government transferred the principal chief conservator of forests, J.S. Chauhan, who is in charge of the project, while the collars still remain. A few days earlier, Mr. Chauhan had spoken to NDTV about shifting some cheetahs to other areas.
We do have plans to make second home, then third home for cheetahs. Right now we have cheetahs, all our cheetahs are in Kuno. So the situation is like having all your eggs in one basket. So we basically need to explore other areas, other suitable areas.
Now Kuno is left with 15 adult cheetahs, 11 of them in open jungles and 4 in enclosures, and 1 cub. With Anurag Dwari in Bhopal, Gargi Rawat for NDTV.
All right, so several questions that really need to be answered and a lot that needs to be put into perspective. Dr. Andheria, if I can come to you first. You know, basis the pictures that NDTV has exclusively access, which shows the neck area, the wounded neck area, the maggots over there in these collars now being removed. What is your opinion? Do you believe that these deaths could potentially be linked to these radio collars?
So, Rishika, radio collars have been put on tigers and leopards for several decades. Dr. Ullaskaran, who is with us, has done radio collaring for many decades. And if the collars are right, definitely anything that you put, any external thing that you put on an animal is going to intrude. However, from the past experience of tigers and leopards, it's clear that radio collars, if put rightly, if the size is okay, if the width, it's not only that how tight they are, it's also how wide they are. If that is all fine as per specifications, they don't cause this kind of mortality. However, the collars that were put on the cheetahs are AWT collars. These are different from what we put on tigers and leopards.
Right.
I don't know the material used. I don't know the width. And so from the injuries that you see on cheetahs, and these are circular wounds which are caused because of maggots, but this may not be because the radio collar is cutting the neck. Otherwise, it will be a circle around the neck. There will be a vertical line or something that comes.
Right.
This is obviously some ticks or something entering, biting, and then a wound getting created. Maggots are nothing but larvae of flies. And so once the flies sit on it, so the injury definitely has been caused. But whether it's because the collar is tight or whether it's too wide is difficult to say. But from the prima facie footage that we see, it looks like there is a severe infection largely because of maggots. And this is a vulnerable area. It's close to the windpipe. It can get into the brain. And so, yeah, definitely from this footage, it is clear that there is huge injury. But there is no laceration. And laceration is because the collar is rubbing on the thing.
No, there's no laceration. What we can actually see is wound, and very clearly we can see those maggots in those pictures, and we'll just zoom out and put those pictures as well. Dr. Karant, would you agree with this assessment that this could potentially be harmful? I mean, there are many factors that are talked about, which is the fact that the temperatures are inhospitable. There's excessive humidity at this time of the year. This is a species that is clearly not used to it.
I don't want to repeat what my student Anish said. So basically, he's right that the collars have been used on multiple species and in rainforests on otters that go underwater. So I don't think it's got things to do with climate, but I'm not a veterinary expert to exactly say without even seeing what the reason is. But to me, the more important issues are the ones that you framed in the second half of your narrative.
Right.
Was this project planned properly? Prime Minister Modi stood there when he released the cheetahs and he painted a vision of what a real reintroduction project should be. These animals settle down, they foray outside, there will be some mortalities, but they live off natural prey and grow into a population. If you look at Dr. Jala's original model for Kuno, it was to start with 20 cheetahs and go to 36 cheetahs. The problem with the model was the densities were overestimated. It was based on a bad Namibian study. Once you have a bad population model to start something, the problem is Kuno is too small. It cannot have as many cheetahs, and this should never have been chosen as a site. And the Madhya Pradesh officials were handed this bag, and then now they are struggling to say there are too many cheetahs, we need another place, etc. This was a bad site. It was a badly designed project. And I see the typical NTCA attitude of passing the blame. When Sariska tigers went extinct, the chief wildlife warden of Rajasthan was suspended,
right,
and the head of Project Tiger got promotion. I see these kind of political games interfere in this. I think we should stick to Mr. Modi's original vision, really do a proper survey, find a good site. I think there are sites perhaps.
So I want to just interrupt you there and ask you two quick follow-up questions. Do you believe, sir, that the site is not the problem, but the strategy that we have used at this particular site is the problem?
No, the site is the problem because that site is too small.
Right.
Bettina Watch's study shows all serious scientific studies show a need for about 20,000 square kilometers because of their social behavior, because of the densities at which they live. And the second point I want to emphasize, the re-establishment, repopulation recovery project has to depend on natural prey. They are catching cheetah in other parks, dumping them here at extraordinary densities. Cheetahs are packed in high densities. It's almost like a safari situation for lots of, and the moment they are dispersing, they are being caught and brought back. Of all the cheetahs went back, most have been, that forayed out have been caught.
Yes.
So this is not the way to do it.
Yes. You know, very, very important what you're saying. I want to then ask Dr. Andheriya, because, you know, the J.S. Chauhan, the now ex-PCCF of wildlife there, who's now been suspended, he in fact said in that interview to my colleague Anurag Dwari that, you know, this is like putting all your eggs in one basket. So there has to be a strategy to perhaps scatter them over different locations. So if the climate is not the problem, if the conditions are not the problem, but it's actually the area perhaps which is too less for these cheetahs being the primary problem, do you think a potential solution then could be to disperse them across different areas, or is that to your mind not the best possible way going forward?
No. See, there are two things. These deaths are different from whether the location is right or wrong.
Right.
So first we have to sort this issue, because now we have cheetah, they are lives, they are living animals. In our experiment, we cannot sacrifice animals, okay? And so first thing is to understand what the issue is with this collar, and obviously whether everything is playing its part, but we don't know. It's just, we are guessing. So we need to understand first. Second, and this problem I have gone online and said that, you know, cheetahs, normally one cheetah will need about 100 to 150 square kilometers. And Kuno is not the best open habitat that cheetahs use. So this is in the best habitat in Africa, which is in Kenya, in Tanzania. There, the density is 1 cheetah per 100 square kilometers. And Kuno is about 700 square kilometers. And that too, it's woodland, it's valleys, it's mountains. So the ideal habitat is not there. So there, the densities will be even lesser. So definitely, Kuno alone cannot support this project, because you need a basic minimum breeding females in a population for that population to be stable over long periods of time.
Yes.
And you cannot have this BOMA technology where you keep a cheetah and you display one animal outside and then you take it back. That's a zoo methodology.
Yes,
India doesn't follow that strategy. In South Africa, they may do that. So as long as you go on and talk to experts from South Africa or Namibia, they are going to suggest things which work in that country. And their animals are commodity. Sorry to say so, there are animals that are kept for display.
Do you believe we therefore need more local solutions?
We need local solutions, but there is no magic wand, because a habitat to create a cheetah-worthy habitat, you need 10, 15, 20 years of effort. You cannot bring the cheetah here and
I want to then ask a more fundamental question to you, Dr. Karan. Do you believe that this was therefore just a botched PR operation? I mean, you know, should we have perhaps so-called done this experiment with fewer numbers across different habitats? You know, did we just not think this through?
No, I think you are slightly off track. I agree with what Anish says is, even establishing a single population, forget about establishing multiple population, even establish a single population would have picked a different place where there are no leopards, no tigers, not very high density of human beings, lot of livestock. It needs a different context and a different scale of 20,000 square kilometers to 10,000 square kilometers. That was the fatal mistake, and that came because scientists were not seriously consulted. WAI was given a project and a lot of us disagreed with the model and the idea. And I want to highlight, this is not this government's project. This project was initiated by Mr. Jairam Ramesh and the NTCA in 2010, when South Africans sold this idea of their model of fenced populations, meta populations. Mr. Jairam Ramesh didn't have the money. Mr. Modi put 100 crores. That's where we went wrong. The idea was flawed from the beginning. It needs to be scrapped and we need to go back to the drawing board.
Okay. But do these cheetahs continue to stay here? Do you recommend that they be scattered across different locations? What do you think should be done in the interim?
I again agree with my student Anish. these animals are precious as captive stock. Forget about releasing them.
Yes.
I'm sure there are, and this can't be done in the boondocks in some zoo with some forest guard. It has to be done in a well-equipped, proper zoo. Perhaps there's a big zoo, private zoo coming up in Ahmedabad with lots of resources and maybe they should all be moved there and taken care of. These cheetahs will never settle down in India without a habitat being created. When this project was promoted, I said this is putting cart before the horse. Prepare the habitat, have natural prey. Don't bring cheetah from Madhya Pradesh and dump them in another part. Prepare and then do it.
It's really important.
Saved. It has become a rescue operation.
It's really, really important what you're saying and could potentially go a long way in saving the lives of the remaining cheetahs. This is a conversation I wish we had more time for. Thank you both very much for joining us. We've just managed to scratch the surface of this big issue, but it's a story that we will track here very closely on NDTV. Short break here, more news on the other side. Do stay with us.